You're fine.
Hola chicos, estamos en el episodio número 20 de nuestro podcast Don't Stop the Travel y hoy tenemos un montón de invitados súper especiales para ustedes. Son nuestras host companies de nuestra job fair con Alliance of Road Group. La hicimos recién este fin de semana, pero pues igual sacamos este capítulo especial para que ustedes aprendan un poquito. Es el primero que vamos a hacer completamente en inglés, así que porfa activen los subtítulos y pues disfruten, y si aún no nos están siguiendo, empiecen a seguirnos porque aquí va a salir un montón de cosas bacanas para ustedes. So, my name is Sebastian Martinez. I'm the host again. We're going to have 3 different and awesome host companies. Great Wolf Lodge with Anthony. We have Sony and Brian from Premier Pool Management. And we have Anton from the Rainforest Cafe. So thank you guys for being part of this and taking the time just to attend to our job fair. Also taking the time for doing this podcast. And I know it could be difficult, like if you're not, like, I don't know if you already know that you're going to be like on camera on YouTube, TikTok.
No.
Like
Not
maybe Pornhub. Well, not yet.
Yeah. We'll give it time.
Yeah, maybe in a couple hours.
Yeah.
I'm just joking.
There's no judgment.
Yeah.
2 shots tequila, we're good.
Yeah, that's just 2. Okay, the funny part, like, let's put that on the side and just like keep talking like serious about. And I just want to know your impressions about like all these exchange program things, all the J1 programs. I know like it's just work and travel for you guys, but it's not just the exchange experience for us. It's also for you because you're attending and traveling abroad. So I don't know if you want to share us some experiences that you have been getting for the last years. So who would like to start?
I'll start. I love it. I thank you very much for hosting us. I really appreciated the opportunity to be here in person versus interviewing some students in the past over Zoom or video call. Yeah. It allows us to connect on a better and personal level. I feel that this is the most welcoming type of group I've ever been to, student-wise, and I really appreciate everybody's time. I really think it's beneficial for both of us, for the students and for the companies, to be able to connect on a deeper level and make sure that we're aligning on some things that are coming ahead for them, right? I really wanted to be here to reassure them that me as a host company, being here, I wanted to put that in their mind that they are my biggest resource I'm going to use to deliver results for the business. So I wanted to make sure that their experience is successful, and that's exactly what we got accomplished. We had a lot of fun, tons of good stories from them, tons of exchange on the personal and business levels, and I loved it. We actually celebrated one birthday today with a student, and he was excited to be here. I apologize for taking so much of his time out of his day, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot of good things coming for him.
But did you hire him?
We did hire him, so one of my birthday gifts, yes, and he was very excited about it. So definitely, thank you for the welcoming environment. You guys made me feel like a royalty, and I really appreciate the students' energy and attitudes. They were just here and they're ready, and they were very ambiguous. The bright eyes, and they are definitely ready to experience that. So I'm happy for that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Who else wants to say something?
I'll hop in there. It's been a really fantastic couple of days. This is our first time in Valke, and just experience the culture and the people down here. It's been pretty amazing. The students, your staff, everybody's been really great. So thanks for all of that. We're pretty excited, man. The J1 programming, I don't think a lot of people know about it. J programs, H programs, and whatnot. But once we are able to explain what this program can offer them as a student, as an experience. Earlier today we were talking about how we challenge our participants to, as they're boarding the plane, for example, make a video of themselves, to tell themselves, who they think they'll be in about 4 months when they come back home. And our challenge was that they're not going to be that same person that recorded that video, right? Like the whole world is going to change. The town when they come back to is going to be smaller. Right? Things are going to look much more close-knit. They're going to have more friends they're going to be connecting with from all over the world. So to see that with them, to see them experience that excitement, that's really what keeps us going. It's an opportunity for them to really connect. It's really cool.
And also the fact that most of them are like dealing with like being afraid.
Right.
I don't know if you have ever had that feeling. Man, I'm enjoying it. Like I'm really making it.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's going to be on with this. Fuck it, I'll just do it.
Yeah, we had students before who first week in, first 2 weeks in, are having a rough time. They're homesick, first time away from home. They're missing home. They're missing their parents. They're missing their friends. And that first couple weeks is tough, so much so that they're talking about leaving the program. But, we talk to them, we work with them, we help them. And then once they give it a couple weeks, they're invested, they're all in, they enjoy the experience, and it's the best time of their life.
That's something that, as like in this business, we call the cultural shock, and that's 100% real. Like people don't really realize that being away from home is gonna hit you hard, and just like I don't know, like when I did my first program, I really went with a low budget. I bet spend my money. So I was like my second day in the U.S. and I already had like $100. So I started like asking myself like, why did I did this? Like, like should I go back? Like I miss my family, my girlfriend. I don't have any necessity of putting myself in this risky situation. And also I started as a food runner at the Rainforest Cafe. That was a training process. So I spent like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 days as a runner before start like my server training. But I thought like my world was falling apart just for being there. And I was like, I cannot afford to be in the States. And like, States so expensive that I cannot be here just like chilling around. Like I need another job. I need another source of income. That could be like super tough for some people.
I think, one of the things that we try to remind our students, and I think you guys are doing the same thing, is that, every single student there is going through the same thing, right? And they always think that they're alone and they're by themselves. But if they just take a moment, which we encourage them to do at least once a week as a group of house, just slow down and communicate, they're going to realize everyone that they know is going through, everyone's going through the same thing. I mean, we've been in the industry for so long, we can see the cycles, right? They get through that cycle, they're homesick, they want to leave, and all of a sudden they start having fun, and at some point they get sad because the program's ending, and if they just, once they realize that they're not alone, with it or support them, and they have the friends, and it's much easier.
I really compared this experience of just like going to college. So living home and just doing your college, you're staying in a dormitory and just like realizing that you're like growing up, you're becoming an adult, and it's really stressful, and also it's like a big shot for anybody. So it's more about your willingness of like keep moving on, like doing new experiences, like new adventures. I don't like the adventures thing, but even itself, like traveling, it's a metaphor about life. So I usually mope around and say like each movie starts with travel. Like every single movie, just mention it. Like I don't know, Toy Story was a travel, right? About the other guy's house. Like Monster Inc. was a travel to the human world, and the like what was the name of the girl?
The little girl?
Yeah, what was the name of the girl?
I remember the monster's name. I don't remember.
Boo. It was Boo. It was Boo.
Okay, yeah.
So like Boo going to the monsters world, and she was like traveling. And every single movie is about traveling. So like I think like changes like this of like trying new cultures, it's what life is made of, pretty much.
Yes, absolutely.
Talk about stepping outside of your comfort zone, being successful, and having all the support around you. That's what I talk to my students about. This is the step of that you're stepping outside of your comfort zone, right? If you guys remember yourselves going to a camp for the first time, the summer camp, it felt exactly like that, except we as a company, we are there to provide that extra support, right? Extra layer of support to make that transition smoother and to make sure that they take it farther and they have a great experience. So for me, that's the best reference. Comfort zone, stepping out of it, but being supported and being guided along the way. So I think that's huge. It's huge.
Yeah, and what do you think about like job fairs, like giving you host companies the chance to go into those countries and meet those people in person, knowing their culture, about where they're surrounded, and how do they experience the world around themselves? Because I know like being on the other side of the table, being the interview is not, it's a huge different thing for you guys. It was like actually the same for me. Like I'm judging other people and their skills in English, and I wasn't like that comfortable. I'm still, I've done it for like 10 years and I'm still not comfortable with it, especially when I do it with teachers, like people that are having like bachelors in English, like, yeah, you have like poor English skills, man. Like I didn't want to say it like that, but you keep in college, man. Like stay in college.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think it's one of the more enjoyable parts of what we do, right? And being able to travel and being able to see and experience a lot of different cultures in a lot of different countries is definitely a highlight of what we do. What's really neat too is that there's a connection there. So when we talk to our participants, about the same reactions and the same type of questioning that students in their position had in a different country, we're all connected, right? In some way, shape, or form. And for us to be able to experience that and share that with them, in a sense, it really does give them a connection to those who they'll meet, in a few months, right? It's just, but personally, it's been great, man. I love it. I love it.
What's even better is doing it in person.
Yeah.
I've done 100 interviews over Zoom, whatever, and it's completely different. It's very robotronic and very,
Like having issues like
Un-
lag and like.
yeah, but it's also like, you can't really read their body language and whatnot. But doing it in person, you're on their turf, which is great. It should make them a little bit more comfortable. I know they're speaking a different language, which is always hard, but they're learning, and coming to see them where they're from is awesome.
Yeah. If I can throw something in there, it's it's thought about too. It's, most of the students that we see and then that we talk to, they're choosing something that's really difficult, right? Like most of us, if we grew up in the U.S., when we went to study abroad, we chose countries that are typically English speaking, which makes it easier for us. We're going to go there where we have that comfort level. The students from Colombia, the students from Turkey, the students from various countries where they're really choosing a difficult path. They're choosing a path to go to a foreign country that does not speak their language, natively, right? That in itself takes a lot of courage. And I don't think we should discount that. Just that mindset to choose something like that, it's really impressive.
That's something that as an exchange program participant, that people is gonna real facing. Like they're gonna find people around themselves that they're gonna be mocking about their bad accent, like like, oh, you don't pronounce like real words, these words, and we feel bad. I mean, like, so if it's like you, if I was like looking for your Spanish skills, so like judging your ability or your knowledge based on your Spanish skills.
Yeah.
So it's like this guy's a dumbass. Like,
I know.
but what they haven't like really figured out is like how brave it means for even themselves that they're putting their skills like on game for like at least 4 months daily, just to try them on themselves, and like they're gonna improve themselves. It doesn't matter how bad you are in English, you're still gonna improve your skills. Doesn't matter. Like if you're like in Texas or whatever, like with a lot of people that speak Spanish, or you're surrounding, you're still gonna learn it and improve it.
100%. Like, you guys are all over the place, right? I mean, your first thing was in like Wisconsin Dells or something like that, right?
Correct. Yeah, we have locations across the country.
Yeah, and you mentioned 94 earlier today.
Seven.
17 for Waypers, but 700 for Landry's.
That was a lot.
But in 94, you said you opened up in Minneapolis.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. Okay. So think about it that way. I was up in Minnesota, right? And I think that as much as it is an experience for the students to get over there as a cultural change, so that's Ohio. I mean, how many people from the middle of America travel outside of the U.S., right? It might be the cultural experience in America, right? But many people from Colombia, Turkey, or wherever the country of origin is for the students, it pays dividends in more ways than one. It's not just for the students coming in; it's for the Americans that don't travel too.
Yeah, like I heard sometime like a couple years ago that 95% of Americans don't even leave their own state.
That's okay. Yeah.
So
95%.
yeah, that's a lot. I mean, if you're like, how much you are, like 500 million Americans? So that's like,
600 million, yeah, something like that.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a lot of people that they don't know the next state of them. And like usually the impressions of like South America or like Hispanic culture is like just Mexico or maybe Puerto Rico or like one of those islands in the Caribbean, and that's it. But there's a whole world. I remember one time I was like working at the rainforest, and one of those guests came to me and asked like, "You are Hispanic?" I was like, "Yeah, I am." "But you're not Mexican."
Yeah.
"I'm not, ma'am." "So where are you from?" she was like so impressed. "I'm from Colombia." "Oh, so there's more than there?" And she was like there are more Spanish speaker countries down America. And I was like, yeah, like until like Chile and Argentina, all the way down to Antarctica. And she was like, oh, I didn't know that. And yeah, like the world is massive. Like even if that it looks like everything's like like but we were talking about like how close is the Houston to Bogota flight, like 4 hours.
Yeah.
It's massive. Like
Yeah.
and people don't really realize how different we are and how similar at the same time we are. Like we face the same things, like but we challenge them and face them like in different ways.
Yeah.
So yeah, like loneliness is one of the hardest part. I remember that I felt alone for like my whole entire first summer, and then like I have friends in my second one, so I never felt alone. So this is one of these experiences that you should do with your friends, not by yourself.
Yeah. It's really neat to see the transition too. I'm sure all of us have really personal stories about students and participants that grow that really surprise us. I remember a student that was so frightened, being dropped off and didn't want to go to his housing because he was going to be the first person in the house, right? He didn't want to go. And as scared as he was, he also won, I think, our lifeguard of the month that first month in. I mean, that transition from someone who's being scared to even being dropped off at home by themselves because they were so afraid, to the point where he grew and just grew into himself. It was really cool, and that was 3 years ago. I thought that was probably one of the most dynamic changes in personality and growth. It was just 30 days. It's amazing what that does. Being independent, making choices, being accountable for your own actions. I mean, that person really blossomed himself. It's really cool.
I think that you start like feeling better after your first paycheck. Like you start like, yeah, I can do this. Like
You're an adult. Right?
yeah, like I'm getting paid for that.
Yeah.
That's
Can we
that's
talk about how hard it is to let them go after the summer
Oh,
program?
it sucks, man.
Come on, man. Like I'm
Yeah.
getting devastated every year. It's like something is. It's like my family member is leaving me or something like that. I just feel so attached to every single student every year. Like the amount of time we spend together, like hand on hand, right, working those shifts, like like 8 hours a day, 5 hours a day of their life and your life together at the same workplace, 40 hours a week, like and seeing them grow and develop themselves. And again, like getting the maturity, right, and then learning different skill sets, right, like decision quality, critical thinking, everything that comes with that program, and then letting them go like 4 months later. It's just
yeah.
I don't know.
Agreed.
But like it's life itself. Like,
But when they show up at your office, 2 weeks before departure, everybody's coming home, and there's a line of students, just parading into the office the last 2 weeks. They're coming in there, they have some type of gift, or giving you a box of donuts, because I love donuts. You work in the office.
I didn't know that.
Oh my gosh.
I do not.
Oh, no.
I do not.
But it's like, you're right? You don't realize what an impact and what a good time you had, and you're like, gosh dang it, you're right. We start all over again. But that's the fun part, right? When you get to experience something with somebody else.
Yeah, and like from the side of the agency, it's also funny because for the next season, like they're coming back and they need to have an agency in order to get back to you guys. And some of them are so cocky, it's like, oh, I know the manager, like he's my friend. He's like, I'm definitely gonna go back, like, but he's gonna ask for myself. So I'm just gonna sit and wait until he sends that email, so I can just like do the paperwork and just travel back to them. Like, hey, don't forget that you have to be a student, right? And like there are some other things that you have to fill it up.
Yeah.
It's not like he's gonna pay the program for you. Like you're gonna have to pay it.
Yeah.
That's cool that you're getting that name on that job offer, but still you're gonna have to do all the things.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like, and also like all of the stories that it comes back with them, like about how successful, like the summer,
Yeah.
how afraid they were at the very beginning, and how comfortable they were at the very end. That really makes them to go back.
For sure.
Yeah. It's always, at least for us, and I'm sure it's true for you guys, seeing all the students return home safely. We have so many students and so many people coming in so many different roles, and then, when everybody comes back home and they're able to tell their friends about it. I don't know, if you guys got emails and videos of their homecoming, have you guys seen some of these things?
Yeah, I just saw one, and it was
It's
like
pretty tearjerking.
embarrassing.
You're like, oh, this one student sent a picture. He's really close with his brother. If he sees this, he knows who I'm talking about. And he's surprised his brother at university. His brother like literally cried into tears seeing him come home after being away for the summer. You know what I mean? And his parents, I was like, oh my God, we forget sometimes. I mean, that's someone's son.
And what something comes, I think, is with all people that travels, like that feeling that whenever you travel, you're living on a Monday, but you can spend like months away, and whenever you come back, like you're coming back on a Tuesday, like you're picking your life where you left it, and it's like really like a desperate feeling. I think like you're like, damn, like where did I went? Like what happened with me? And I started like talking about that specifically like 2 years ago, and like now my participants that are coming back are saying like, yeah, I feel like that, just like you said, like my life was just like where I left it. So I think it's the same for you guys. Like you're just like traveling around doing some job fairs, and then you're back, and you have like bills still getting to get paid, paperwork and work to do, and other things to do, and working your agenda. So that's another thing that is really common too.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's definitely rewarding. I think we all feel the same way because we're all sitting here right now, right? So it's definitely rewarding. I mean, if we didn't like it, if we didn't really truly believe in the program, I don't think none of us would be here right now.
Yeah,
Honestly.
that's
There's a
true.
lot of work, a lot of travel.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that people don't really realize how impact is this J1 program things with for the Department of State and for the U.S.
Oh, for
actually.
sure.
Yeah, it really matters a lot for a lot of communities, and like Galveston community, Wisconsin Dells community, Ocean City, what is the other Myrtle Beach, that they have like that many students around that they really impact their economy.
Oh, gosh, yes. Yeah, those towns and those little resort towns, I mean, even ski resorts, right? Like we go skiing, we go snowboarding, and there are a lot of people on the winter programs, like from Argentina and stuff like that.
Brazil.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the ski slopes wouldn't be able to open if we didn't have participants in the trade programs and stuff like that. It's such a huge part of our identity. Right? I mean, most people don't realize that.
Yeah, they don't really do that.
Yeah. And dealing with this program now, you see it more and more.
Yeah.
I'm seeing, J1 students popping up in places that I would have never noticed before. Absolutely, absolutely. And you start talking to them, and
Can you notice like the difference between any regular worker and a J1 worker?
no, not really. No,
You can ask them if they were riding the bike to work. They'll probably tell you they're J1
So
students.
J1 students. No, well, America's such a
So different.
so many different peoples and nationalities. You can't really tell unless you have a conversation with them. But growing up going to Busch Gardens, the theme park, for instance, had no idea that their whole staff is based in J1.
Yeah.
And then going back and having a conversation with them too. Yeah, you find out. Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, like it is, man. It is. But I can notice the difference between like regular Hispanics and Colombians. I can do that if I watch them.
Yeah.
Like we're different, like I don't know, like I don't know if you already can notice the difference between Dominican Republics and Colombians.
Well, no, I can't really. I mean, you tell me, what's the difference?
I mean, just like our accent, the way that we dress, the way that we walk. I guess maybe their height, like how tall they are. Like Colombians could be like a little bit shorter,
Okay.
not like all of them are taller.
You're like 6'6", right?
Yeah, I'm like 6, huge. I don't know, like man, I was like raised in the Planet of the Apes or something like that. But yeah, like I'm such different Colombian. But we still do the same things. Like we get like the same passions. Like probably you can notice a Colombian because he's like wearing the national soccer team around.
Always that.
They always do that. or the Bucaramanga one.
Yeah.
And like now that you mentioned Bucaramanga, do you guys know that we opened like recently another office there? And I know that you have been in previously times and occasions in Bucaramanga. So can you notice the difference between that city and this city and also their people?
I just feel welcome.
that's
In
good.
Colombia, I just feel welcome everywhere. Like the community here is so diverse, yet everybody is welcome. Like I've never
Mhm.
came across anybody that was like rude to me or somebody that was not willing to help me. I've noticed that a lot of like cities in Colombia that I traveled personally, I really like the environment. I think it's because I align it with like Ukrainian culture a lot, and then it makes me like it hits home per se
Okay.
of how um, diverse people are coming together to support each other in the different environments. And I really like that. I really like that, and I think that's a great consistency to have, regardless of where you travel within the country. If you see the same patterns, it's a good thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. But no, we are also different. It's just probably you don't haven't heard our accents. Like they're usually like all Colombians walk around their Bucaramangas people accents. Like they're stronger. Like they sound that they were mad. So
It
instead
was
of
not like they're mad.
yeah, like if you notice, like we're later after we're done with this, like I'm gonna tell you how I speak Spanish like normally here in the city, and how do I speak Spanish back in Bucaramanga because I was born there though.
Okay.
So and I went back to college there, so I have like so many phrases that are like really traditional there, and I can like pretending that I'm just like a regular person there whenever I go there.
Well, that's something that the more we come to Colombia, we'll pick up. And it's just like the United States.
Yeah.
You're up northeast. It's a completely different dialect than the
Yeah.
South,
Yeah.
Georgia. So yeah, I can believe that.
Yeah.
I think it happens more the more we hear.
And also, like mostly of all cities are like different. Bogota has their own accent. Like Medellin has their own accent. Cali, like guys have never been in Cali because there's no exchange offices there.
Mhm.
They have a whole different accent, and even to the south to Pasto, that's like really close to the border, like next to the border with Ecuador. They have a whole different accent too. And also the Caribbean, like all the cities like Barranquilla, Santa Marta, they have different accents for each city, and they're like quite similar, but they are different too.
Mm. Okay.
And we were talking about with Anthony like a few minutes ago about how important is the English for your own travels and
Mhm.
like being able to communicate abroad.
Mhm.
And he was like telling me about his experience while he was in Europe and like in Netherlands, and I don't know, like I'm just like mugging on him, but yeah, like did you got like a lot of help for that, right? For being able to speak English?
Uh, so in Europe, are you talking about like speaking the native language when I travel?
Yeah, well, that you were like able to communicate because you were like
Oh
an
yeah.
English
So whenever
speaker.
I traveled into Europe, I could speak English and it would be relatively normal. Everyone could communicate with me. Here, I found that it was a little bit more challenging. I had to really pull some high school level Spanish out to have some conversations. It's just that everyone doesn't speak English here, so that's something that I noticed. I guess the difference between traveling into Europe versus traveling to Colombia. And it's my first time here, so I wasn't quite sure what to expect. So I might have done a little Duolingo before I got here.
Okay, so he's like, oh, fuck, I failed that level. Like,
But yeah, even though I have to, there's sometimes a language barrier. I think everyone's been very nice. I haven't had any issues. People work with you so you can understand them.
yeah, they trying to do their best to understand you.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Oh yeah, and and that kind of gives us, at least for me, my English is pretty much, my English, my Spanish is pretty much non-existent. So, but even just shopping yesterday, I mean, we couldn't communicate correctly with the person who was trying to sell something. Somebody else who was walking by the mall kind of overheard the conversation and stepped in and helped translate, right?
That's so nosy. They're like, handle yourself stuff, dude.
And I was like, thank you, man, you're awesome. But I mean, it's just that, it's like, and it goes back to that thing we were talking about earlier, like, the students here and students from other countries, they're choosing a very, very difficult situation to put themselves into. I mean, we're having a hard time. We're only here for a few days,
Yeah.
right? And they're going to do it for 4 months.
Yeah.
And they're choosing to do that. That's cool, man. And a lot of respect. A lot of respect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so funny because I mean, whenever you don't understand something, like you can just like pull your phone and like, oh yeah, this is what it means. Like I don't know, like how do you say like barbecue ribs? Oh, okay, so that's okay. But you cannot do that like while in the U.S., right? Like you have an emergency, like as a labor. Oh, just wait a second. Like I'm just gonna translate whatever you're saying. Can you please tell me what's chalking? It means like okay. So 911. What is 911? Oh, you mean like okay.
Yeah.
Like yeah, you cannot do those things. So yeah, like getting like basic skills is like really important for the program.
Oh yeah.
Agreed.
But not just for the program, for yourself. I mean,
Oh yeah.
we usually measure here at the office like different about difficulties that you can face based in your English level on your English level. Sorry, and like at the top, it's like calling customer service over the phone. Like, thank you for calling Amazon. Like, my name is I don't know Gloria. How may I help you?
Yeah.
Like, yes, I am Sebastian. Can you please help me? I need to send something back. Like, dude, like that's really like I don't know, like scary.
Yeah.
Or like especially if you're calling to your bank, like reporting a lost card. Like Colombians will rather go to the office of the bank and reporting that in person instead of like calling.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they usually face that like really bad whenever they have to call the IRS next year, because you know IRS are they're federal. They don't care about you. They don't have like customer standards. Like, oh yeah, could you please you know like score this call in order to improve our service? Like, no, the fucks were given that day. Like it is what it is. Like IRS is like so rude, and her like I don't know, but she just hanged me up. Like why? I didn't understand why, but but that's the hardest thing that as an exchange program you can do, like facing the IRS over the phone.
Yeah. Interesting.
That's really interesting, man. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
I think I don't know what you guys are thinking about. Like, what do you think is like the number one trait that you see consistent with the people that are with Rainforest and also with Wolf?
Well, I'd say from the folks that we talked to today, the biggest differentiator was the level of confidence that they had. There were some people that were, their English may not have been the best, but they were really confident. They were really going after it. And those were the people that I was like, yeah, in the next few months, you'll be ready to come.
You know how they call them in Spanish? Brutos pero decididos. So that means stupid but committed. So those are the guys that are like really like personality hires. That they're like, those are the ones that are, I'm gonna make myself to understand me. You know, like me, street, walk.
You know, we had that today, and then he's trying to explain himself so hard, and then he keeps going, and he goes, you know, whatever. And he continues.
And that's funny because whenever I'm doing the English interviews, I go like quite that, and I'm like asking like, so which one? What do you like to do in free time? Oh, I go to the gym and spend time with my girlfriend. Do you like to watch movies? Maybe yes. Which movie do you like? Marvel. You know, Hammer guy. Robot armor. And it's like, oh, maybe Avengers. Yeah, Avengers. So they're like, okay, so you're gonna get an A2. Why? Like, I have a really good English level, bro. I spoke for you. Like, I had to understand what you were trying to tell me. It's like, oh yeah, it's because I couldn't find the words. Like, yeah, that's vocabulary. You don't have it. So that's one of the skills that I was evaluating. And they're like, oh man, yeah, I have to face that. But yeah, like that's stupid but committed. Oh, we got a phone call. So that means that we're almost out of time, guys. I don't know if you want to add something else to this. Thank you again for sharing this space with us. I know it's kind of different for a job fair, but something that will really help us for our social media and to grow our community. Not all agencies do this kind of things to take a time to share with sponsors and know like their perspective and opinions about the program, and also like agencies sharing about their own experiences too.
This is our first time in Ibagué, and it's been awesome.
Yeah.
People here are great.
Yeah.
You know, your company is awesome. The students have been great.
Yeah.
So really excited to be here and excited.
Oh, and I'm pretty sure that is not going to be like your last time here. Like once the word spread, like there's going to be like hundreds of students trying to apply to your companies.
I hope so. You know, I think if anything, you know, this kind of candid conversation that we're having, hopefully the students can see, you know, and be less nervous or intimidated when they come and talk to us, right? Because at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We want them to be able to pass. We want them to come. We're trying really, really hard to make sure they have an opportunity to do that. I think that if this podcast gives a glimpse into, who we are and what we really want and how we support this program, hopefully that helps them.
Yeah, and that's something that I'm gonna start to do it like more frequently to ask like have a face of the company because usually it's just a job offer, just a document
Yeah.
about like what to expect, how we're gonna interview, like housing, and not really understanding that we are all human beings and we're like affected with the same emotions, and we have like even that we have like different roles in the whole process, we still expect the best, and like maybe the best is not just like based on an English level. It's also maybe about those guys that are trying their best to make everyone's to understand them for all means, right? Like they even use like finger things, and I don't know if you have noticed this, but Colombians speaks a lot with their hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I was like having lunch and I had an empanada, like small, and I put some sauce in it. So
Yeah. Well, we have a Brazilian in our office, and
Oh.
she's very animated. She's half Brazilian and half Italian,
okay.
and it's just very animated. Her and Brian, they poke each other all the time. It's pretty. It's something that's we're pretty.
I can see that. Like
Yeah.
Brian is really pokeable.
Yeah.
So guys, thank you again for sharing this time. Thank you one more time. Thanks Alliance Abroad Group for like letting us for having this space, and thank you to all my crew, and thank you all the people that is watching this. Should I stop like speaking English already? Entonces, chicos, muchas gracias por escucharnos, por vernos en este episodio, estuvo muy chévere. Porfa, suscríbanse si todavía no lo están haciendo, síganos en Instagram. Recientemente nos cambiamos a BBB-World para que se actualicen. Y porfa, estén súper pendientes de nuestras redes. También síganos en YouTube, en Spotify. Y si aún están pensando si hacer el programa o no, pues este es el momento para tomar la decisión. Un abrazo, chicos, se cuidan y nos vemos dentro de 8 días. Yeah, we're done. It wasn't that bad, right?
No.